Hi, this is Ron Wilder. Have you ever been in a situation with a potential client where it seems completely obvious that they would benefit from what you're offering them? It would really create a lot of value for them, and if they keep doing what they're doing, it's going to cost them a lot of time, money, energy. So it seems totally obvious that they should move forward with what you're offering them, but they don't. For whatever reason, they're not moving. Why is that? Well, it's possible that what you're encountering is what I call the hidden physics of sales. So what I want to do is take you through the dynamics that are occurring in the client's mind and give you two questions that you can ask in your sales conversations that are really going to uncover the truth. Now, why is this so useful? Because when you get to the truth of what's really going on in the client's world, then you can figure out how to move forward with them more effectively. So hang on, here we go. So the conventional wisdom and the conventional approach to sales is your clients hear whatever their status quo situation is, and there's something that they want, whether it's in their business, in their life, whatever. But there's something that they want, and they have in mind some benefit of getting what they want. There's also something that they don't want, and they have some cost in mind of what it's costing them to kind of stay where they are. And this is basically the idea that human beings move in the direction of pleasure, and they move away from pain. So the conventional approach to sales is to ask your client, what is it that you want? What is the perceived benefit to you? What is the benefit to you of getting what you want? Is it going to be more time, more money, more luxury, whatever it might be? And what does it mean to you if you don't change anything at all? And so the idea here is that we have 4 quadrants. And so on the right side is the client gets what they want. And on the left side is they don't get what they want. And above the line is what I would call the upside benefit. And below the line is the downside cost. So conventional sales training basically says, hey, if we give you this thing that you want and you get what you want, what's going to be the upside benefit of it? And in that scenario, the client's really happy. They've got more money, they've got more efficiency, more effectiveness, better morale, better whatever it is that they care about, right? And if we make that really attractive to them, then that's going to have a pull, that's going to pull them in that direction. Now the other part of the question is, what happens if you don't do anything? What happens if you just leave things as they are? What's going to happen then? And what we're looking for is to ask the client, what's the downside cost of not doing anything? Well, we're going to lose money, we're going to continue to struggle, we're going to have morale problems, we're going to lose customers, whatever that might be to them, right? And so if that's big enough, then that's going to basically push them away from that pain. And so if you have this is their status quo, this is where they are right now, the conventional approach says, go into the client's office, meet with them, build up the benefits, build up the hidden costs, and that's going to create this force, this psychological force that's going to pull them towards the benefits and push them away from the pain. But chances are you've been in a scenario where you've talked to them about that seems completely obvious, and yet they don't move. Why is that? Well, if you understand the laws of physics, you got to figure that there's some other force holding them back in the other direction. What is it? I was a physics major in college, and now I'm applying this to like the psychology of sales, but it's always sort of been fascinating to me. Why is it that clients don't move? So there's got to be some other hidden forces. So I'm going to teach you 2 questions that you can ask in addition to these questions that are going to fill in the whole puzzle. So the first question is, what is the benefit to you of not getting what you want? So, in other words, if nothing changes, what's the payoff to you if nothing changes? And they'll tell you what that is. Now, the thing about this question is, it's not a question that most clients have really thought about before. They can tell you about these 2, but if you ask them these other 2 questions, they're a bit unconventional, right? So you ask them, what's the benefit to you of doing nothing? What's the benefit to you? And usually what they'll tell you is something that they're avoiding, right? They're avoiding something. What is it? By not changing this, I get to avoid something. What is it? And that basically, they're avoiding something because they associate what with that, with whatever that is. It might be a tough conversation. It might be a decision they have to make. It might be a behavior that they have to change. But they associate pain with it. So now there is a force keeping them from moving forward in that direction. Now the other question is, what's the downside cost of actually getting what you want? Interesting question. It seems like it makes no sense, but if you ask people to actually think about it, there's some hidden fear of actually getting what they want. And often it's a fear of judgment around their success. It's usually a fear of success of some kind. I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and I asked them, what's the downside of you actually getting what you want? And their answer was, well, then I'd have to sustain that. Then I'd have to keep it up. Then I'd have to maintain that. And if I couldn't maintain it and I failed then people would judge me. So, we have some fear associated with the success. Like, I might make a lot more money and people would judge me for that. I might have a lot of free time and other people would make demands on my time, right? I might be really, really successful and that would break the norm in my family. Whatever it is. Now, here's the thing about this. So now this fear has a force going this way. Now notice how now we can see these hidden forces, because this hidden force of avoidance and this hidden force of the fear of success or fear of judgment is pulling them back in the other direction. Now, the beauty of asking these questions before you make your offer is that it illuminates, it brings these fears out of the shadows and into the light. And now you can just look at them as the truth. Usually what happens is as soon as the client actually voices those hidden fears, they begin to lose their power. They begin to lose their power. Now, a couple of thoughts about this. It's very, very easy to look at somebody else's hidden fears and see how they're completely irrational. It's just a made-up story. However, in the mind of the client, it's very real, because these stories, and that's all they are, is stories, kind of go back to programmed, conditioned ways of thinking that they probably picked up as a kid, right? So to them, those fears of failure, of success, are very real. However, once they name it, once they articulate it, once they tell you, oh, this is actually what I'm avoiding, or this is what I'm afraid of, they can see it that it's just a story. And that now they are empowered to make a decision. Do they want to hang on to this story or not? Now you're in a position to present your offer to them with the full picture of what's really going on. And it's a much more compassionate, empathetic way to guide them towards what they really want. And you can now really be a trusted guide and an advisor to them throughout the entire relationship because you understand what's really going on. So I hope this helps. Remember to ask these two questions. In addition to asking them what's the benefit that you're looking for of getting what you want, and what's the downside of not doing anything, you want to ask these other two questions to reveal the hidden forces. What's the benefit to you of not getting what you want? And what's the cost to you of getting what you want? These four questions in total will reveal all the forces at play and will really help you guide your client to make a much more empowered decision. Thanks. Have a great day.